Seeds of Revolution, Part 1 of the American Revolution. Table of Contents. Britain's Colonies, the French and Indian War. Britain's Colonies. Over 200 years ago, a ragtag group of colonists fought a war against an empire, and won. Those colonists lived in what is now the United States, and they fought against Great Britain. Britain was a well-established country in the Old World and was trying to secure land in the New World. The New World comprised North, Central, and South America. Many Old World countries in Europe, such as Spain and France, wanted land in the New World too. Over time, Britain had claimed 13 American colonies. The people who moved to the British colonies were called colonists, and they lived across the Atlantic Ocean from the country that controlled them. But distance allowed the colonists to develop their own ideas and ways of doing things. It was this independent spirit that fueled the Revolutionary War, even though the colonists and Great Britain had once been friends. In the 1700s, they had worked together to defeat a common enemy, France. The French and Indian War. In the 1750s, both France and England wanted the same land in North America. The two countries had competed for hundreds of years to gain power in the Old World, and that competition continued in the New World. The French had explored areas around the Great Lakes and the Ohio River Valley. French fur trappers had established trading posts in those areas. England claimed ownership of the same areas, and colonists settled there. Native Americans had lived there long before either the French or the British. The French traders and trappers were friendly with many of the Native American tribes of the region. As British settlers moved west from the East Coast, Native Americans lost much of the land they had used for centuries for living and hunting. The British signed treaties or agreements with the Native American tribes to pay for and purchase their land. The tribes did not have the same ideas as the British about ownership and often didn't realize the rights they were giving up. Many of the tribes were angry and willing to use force to regain the right to use the land they had always used. As France and Britain prepared for war in the New World, some Native American tribes sided with Britain and others sided with France. Both sides began to build forts in the Ohio River Valley to protect their rights to the land. In 1754, the French built Fort Duquesne where the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is today. The fort was built in a spot thought to be key to controlling the Ohio River Valley. Both sides wanted the fort. The British sent a young surveyor named George Washington to the fort to persuade the French to leave. The French refused. Washington and his men attacked a group of French scouts, killing 10 men. Washington's group of men built Fort Necessity not far from Fort Duquesne. The French captured Fort Necessity, but Washington and his men surrendered and then escaped. Washington then went to fight alongside Britain's general Edward Braddock. Braddock's goal was to banish the French from the Ohio River Valley, beginning with Fort Duquesne. However, the French hid soldiers and their Native American allies in the woods alongside the columns of British soldiers marching on the fort. They shot at the British, who panicked and ran. General Braddock was killed, as were more than half of his soldiers. This battle is considered by many to be the first real battle of the French and Indian War. In 1756, Britain declared war on France. The official fighting began that year, although many battles had already been fought in the New and Old Worlds. Britain sent more troops to the colonies, as did France. At first, it seemed France would win the war, but the British attacked the critical points of Forts Niagara, Lake Champlain, and Quebec. The French were cut off from the Ohio River Valley, the Mississippi River, and the port at New Orleans. The French depended on supplies coming out of these areas. Without supplies, the French could not survive in the New World. Britain won the war. The Treaty of Paris, signed in 1763, cut off all French claims to North America. British colonists could now move freely into the areas once controlled by France, including Canada. Colonists were pleased to be part of Britain. Many had fought alongside British troops in the French and Indian War against a common enemy. The colonists were grateful Britain fought for their right to move west. However, their gratitude did not last long. Just a decade later, gratitude and friendship turned to distrust and revolution. The distrust began soon after the French and Indian War. Britain had decided to keep 10,000 soldiers in the New World to defend its land there. The soldiers needed places to live and food to eat. Britain also needed money to pay off war debts and to govern its expanded empire. King George III and Britain's Parliament had an idea. Let the colonists pay for the soldiers' housing and food and pay taxes to help pay off Britain's war.